Hey guys, Patrick Freeman here in Chongqing. Look who's back.
Hey, Garrett.
The bald guy.
The bald guy.
Yeah, we have to...
Of all the introductions you could... considering
I
how
love
long
you.
we've known each
Yes.
other, all that we've been through, you know, the bald guy.
The bald guy.
That's me.
Yeah,
It's going to be the title of the video. Me and the bald guy at it again.
Me and the bald Danish guy. You've seen the last two videos about the cultural differences from the school that I had produced. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to come out with my friend Mikkel and talk about some of those in more detail. And really, we're going to share with you our experience on dealing with some of the cultural differences.
This is going to be deep.
This is going to be deep. And you're actually, I don't want to make it, I want to be tactful. Is that the right word, tactful?
I think so.
I want to be tactful.
Good word.
And I don't want to be disparaging.
We're going to try and be respectful.
We're going to try to be respectful because you know the minute that you say something negative about another culture, somebody's going to take it and blow it out of proportion.
Yeah.
And
in all fairness, we do it too.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, we all do it. But there's something that I haven't done is I don't complain a lot, at least not on camera, or disparage the culture, because I will tell you there are a ton of things that I don't like.
Oh yeah.
In the behaviors and the culture here in China. But I figure we would just talk about these, see what the response is.
See what the response is.
Yes, see what the response is. So
I see sunlight, so my head is going to shine up.
Yes, we have to.
Just a minute. We're going to avoid that,
Yes.
please. Just a little bit.
Yeah, whenever I do episodes with him and we're in the sun, I will issue welding goggles. See if you can notice it. Right. You're
All
blinded.
Right, let's get out of here.
I get all these lawsuits from my subscribers. I'm blinded. I can't see.
I can't see,
that one
man.
episode that you did with Mikkel. I'm blind.
It's always me.
Yes.
Can you get some other bald friends?
I'll try to find them. They all left. They didn't have the cojones to stay here like you did.
Yeah, well, I've got 3, so that's all right.
Yeah. So let's talk about patient privacy. We didn't talk about that before we prepped on this.
Oh, no. Wait, yeah, okay. So,
patient privacy.
Tactful.
How do you...
Tactful. The quickest way to describe patient privacy is, so you have to remember, obviously China is a big country. There is a lot of people, which also means that whenever you're going for a doctor's appointment, there are going to be other people there. I think for the most part, it's probably fine. If you're just getting a regular old health check, if you're just having your blood pressure taken or whatever, it doesn't really matter that there are 6 other people in the room. But when clothes have to start coming off,
yeah.
Once you have the more sort of intimate stuff done, you might want to make sure that you're the only one in the room. I mean, it's bad enough sometimes that you have to have a female doctor if they're getting a little close.
And that's not something you can really.
No,
with some of the emergencies, you just can't choose. Okay, I want a male doctor. You just go in, and all of a sudden it's a female doctor.
And if it's a female doctor who is on call, I mean, it's not necessarily like it's a doctor. She's not going to look at you in any funny way. Whatever you're about to show her, she's seen 1,000 times before. It's making it easier though.
Yeah.
But it's still just like you don't want to then have a female doctor and then another dude looking at you going.
Yeah, I know. So let me tell you a little bit about, for those who. For the subscribers that are in other countries other than the U.S., the U.S. is really big on privacy when it comes to patient privacy.
Yeah.
There have been laws set up, very strict laws. One in particular is called HIPAA, that protects files and discussion topics that doctors can have outside of the doctor's office. And they're very strict. So
it's the same in Denmark.
Yeah,
we have very strict privacy laws as well.
So what happens when you come to China, and what I experienced, and what Mikkel was saying is, you know, it's different in the U.S. You walk into a doctor's office, they may have 15 or 20 different separate offices that they make rounds in their own building. And when they come in, they shut the door. I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but they shut the door. Sometimes they lock it. Sometimes they'll have a nurse come in just for, the pre-check stuff. But here, you actually go to the doctor's office, which is one office, and typically in a hospital. They don't have like separate buildings where doctor's office out of. They're usually in the hospital.
Yes, that was one thing that also sort of caught me off guard, is how everyone says, oh, I have a cold, I'm going to go to the hospital. And they're like, how bad is your cold exactly?
Yeah.
because we would just go and see, you know, our family physician or whatever.
Right.
Which is the same as what we have in Denmark. Like, you would go to a clinic.
Right.
Where you have an assigned doctor who takes care of you. You'll make an appointment and you go and do that. But here, you go to see a doctor in a hospital in their little office. That wowed me the first time I had to see a doctor.
So you walk into a doctor's office, I have to have somebody translate for me, like Cui. Actually, when you were at the hospital when I had that dizzy spell, I had to have him there translating.
I did my best. That was some first grade medical stuff.
Yeah, well, you got me through it. So when you go to the doctor's office, you're sitting there. There's a big problem with people constantly walking in.
Yes.
And asking the doctor questions.
Yeah,
so,
sometimes it's the people next in line who just want to get a quick question out of the way.
Yeah.
But also, many times you've had your check done by the doctor and they send you off somewhere else to have another check done and then come back to them. But they don't have to wait in line, so they will just walk in with their forms and their papers to get it signed off on or get their medication or whatever.
Which you can't do that in the United States. If you walked into the exam room that the doctor was in with you, they would very quickly scream at you and yell at you and tell you to get out, that you're not supposed to be in there. But it seems to be, it's an acceptable thing here that if you're in the doctor's office, expect for people to walk in. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is you've got people that are coming here, you know, once the virus kind of settles down, people are going to be returning or you're going to have new expats here. You need to be aware of these kind of things take place.
Yes.
And that it's okay to ask the doctor to respect your privacy.
Yes, and I think that's maybe also where this comes in.
Let's go over here a little bit.
It is, like, if you remember how big China is and how many people there are, it's just common for Chinese people to have other people around. We're so used to having our personal space. When you, in Denmark, when you hop on a bus, the first thing you do is that you find a seat where there's no one sitting next to you, preferably by the window, so you're as far away from other people as possible. And I'm sure in the US it's a little bit similar.
Got a car coming behind us here.
When you get on a bus, you try and find a place where you can sit by yourself. And when someone comes in and sits down next to you, you're like, do you have to sit so close? Like, there's an empty seat over there. Why couldn't you sit next to that guy?
Yeah, no.
And we're just so used to having this high expectation, this high level of privacy. But in a country as big as China with this many people, you have to remember China is roughly the same size as the US, right?
As far as geographically, yes. Geographically, definitely the same size.
But there are about 3 times as many people here.
Yeah.
So every time you would see one American in the US, you'd see 3 Chinese people. And this isn't an attempt at mockery or anything. There's a lot of people. And so you just won't have as much empty space. So that extends to public transport, it extends to going to see the doctor. It's just all over the place. There's lots of people.
Yeah. What, kind of going back to the patient privacy, why do you think they haven't actually set up, I was telling you about I haven't told you guys about this, but I had a colonoscopy, and that was an experience because when I went into the hospital to have the procedure done, I literally walked into this room and there is a lady who's got a tube sticking up her butt, she's getting the colonoscopy, and Cui, my wife, is there, and I said, no, this is not how it's gonna be. I don't want my butt being shown to people, other patients when they walk into the office. Why do they, and it's a genuine, sincere question, why do they allow this? Is it just because there's so many people here that, this kind of stuff happens? People see our private parts all the time and we're not worried about it. We're just going to go through the process and get it done.
It might be a little bit of both. I'm sure there are laws because I think privacy is something that everyone cares about. And I think it's also something, especially the younger generation of Chinese people, definitely care about now. But it's even if you make a law that has to come into effect, how do you enforce it? Because someone's going to have to stand up from the desk and tell these people to get out of the room. But the doctor is basically taking care of the patients because that's their job.
Right.
And so I think it's just something that, like you said, people have accepted it. I don't think everyone necessarily agrees with it because I've also seen whenever I have been to a hospital or seen a doctor, I do see people or the doctors like, this is going to be sensitive, everyone else out.
Right.
So I have seen doctors tell other patients to get out of the rooms when they're about to do a procedure.
Now, in all fairness, before we go, because you had mentioned this, in all fairness, when I saw this lady's butt, I said, I don't want people looking at my butt.
Yeah.
So I asked Twitch, I said, can you fix this? So she asked the doctor, and the doctor respected it, and he actually kicked everybody out,
Yeah.
basically non-essential personnel, out of the office.
Yes.
And then covered me. You covered me with a blanket.
Yeah.
And we're very respectful. So I think, for expats that are experiencing something like this, that, hey, it's okay to ask the doctor
Yes,
to be
absolutely.
respectful of your
So
own
it's
privacy.
so while the privacy might not be the biggest concern for many of the locals, they will just say, this is what it is. I'm in the hospital. This. Let's just get through this.
Yeah.
Where if you ask, I think any doctor would say, yeah, of course, let's get everyone out, because they're not getting their procedure done. The doctor can't answer their questions while doing a procedure on you, so they have no business being in the room.
Yeah.
It's just, they're just standing in line waiting for their turn. And it's more efficient if you're standing right next to the doctor when she's ready to see you.
Yeah.
Because then you can just get out of the way quicker.
When I was talking to Sway about this, because I was a little upset after the procedure that it would be like that. And I actually expected that it would be like that based on my past experience, where people will walk into the exam room.
Yeah.
But she said there's so many people here that within the hospital system that they have to be extremely efficient.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to get backlogged people are going to have to wait weeks, if not months, to be able to get their procedure or their exam done. So they have to
so
literally...
it comes down to efficiency.
Yeah.
If you think about it, let's say you have 10 patients coming into a clinic a day. You don't worry about the 5, 6, 7 seconds it takes for you to get up from your chair, walk up to the room, open the door, get out, and another person come in and sit down. But if you have to see 100 patients, that's 100 patient times how many seconds?
Yeah.
That amount, that's serious time wastage,
Yeah.
I guess you could call it, right? That is being used on nothing. Whereas if everyone is just standing next to the doctor when she's ready to answer your questions, just boom, done. Boom, done.
Right.
Instead of having one person come in and take up all the time, maybe chit-chatting a little bit. Because whenever I used to see my doctor in Denmark, we would talk about the important stuff, get that out of the way. And then we would, if there's nothing else, you would talk about how have things been going recently. What about that bum knee you were in with a couple of months ago, right?
There's no time for chit-chat in the Chinese.
In China, it's just, are you done? Then...
Yeah.
Because there are 700 people waiting in line.
Drop your pants, turn your head, cough, and get in my office. All right.
Exactly.
No drinks afterwards.
Yeah.
All right.
Just
so get
hop out with your legs down around your knees. Just get out. Just pull them up on your way out. It's just we have this innate expectation of our privacy being respected, but I think the Chinese people have grown up with being this many people in such a small space that you don't have this bubble around you.
You don't.
So when these things happen, they don't necessarily think about it because this is just. It's always been like this. So now that you mention it, maybe I could have asked for a blanket. And the thing is, if you do, of course they will give you a blanket.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody is opposed to it, but it's just they don't have time to hand out blankets to people who don't want blankets. So
No, you're right.
It's just about
You're
asking.
right.
And also, what I think is important is that obviously doctors and these people, they're going to be curious about a foreigner maybe being in a hospital wanting something, but they also generally tend to be very respectful about how you want things done.
Yeah, when I was getting the colonoscopy, two I wouldn't call them resident nurses, but they were studying nurses.
Yeah.
This is what Tway told me. They had come into the exam room and said, we want to watch. And the doctor apparently yelled at them and said, I want non-essential people out of here. So I have to give credit to him that he...
Yeah, so I think this is also important. Yeah, I think it's also important to remember that many of these things, whether it's something with the food or anything, nobody is doing this purposefully to make anyone uncomfortable.
No,
They're just doing what
you're
they've always been doing.
Yeah.
And it might be strange to us, but that's because we are bringing our own expectations to this country, which is unfair in some parts, isn't it? Because they've been doing this for however long they've been doing it. We're like, oh, no.
This is the way you should be doing it.
You should be doing it. Like, we have no right to tell them that. Of course, we like you said, we can ask, and 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, of course, everybody else, can you please just get out? I mean, they're not trying to make us uncomfortable. It's just the
way they've done it. It's an ignorance is bliss. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, but it's also, when you think about it, like I said before, how long does it take for each patient to get out of the doctor's room and the next one to come in? It's a question of efficiency.
Yeah.
How can they do this in the fastest possible way? Because you want your privacy, that's fine, but would you also like to get out of here quickly?
Yeah.
and move on,
Yeah.
and not have to spend your whole day waiting around. Because not only that, like you said, you don't go to see a single doctor for an issue. You may have to go to 4 different offices. You have to wait in line for every single one. So everyone is just under pressure to keep pumping out everything. So,
and that's another thing that actually makes the system efficient is, you know, in the United States, it's terribly inefficient where, you know, if you want to get, if you have to go to your family practitioner, and then you've got to get a referral, if, you know, to another specialist if you need something special done. But all that process may take weeks, if not months.
Oh yeah.
To go from point A to point B to figuring out what's wrong with you if
Yes.
you've got a serious issue going on. Whereas here, you can go to the hospital, and then by the end of the day, it may be an all-day ordeal.
Yes.
You could have had a CT scan. You could have had all these different high-level exams.
Yes.
And then almost pinpointed what the problem is
Yeah,
within one day.
And because you're doing it in a hospital, you don't have to go to a different building to find a specialist or travel across town. You go to the hospital, the doctor will tell you which department to go to, and they will then expect you to show up, because you will go and register that you need to go and see the radiologist or whatever for an x-ray, and then you sign up for that, and then they will be ready for you. They will have all your information. So a process that would, for us, normally take weeks.
Yeah.
You do it in a single day. It's a boring day walking around the hospital. So something that would have taken weeks for us, you just do it in a single day inside the hospital by just going from office to office, because they have everything in one place. So it may not be the most interesting day, but you know, you get the whole thing done. It only takes that one day, and then you're done.
Have you ever had a CT scan?
I have had a CT scan, yeah. It was a couple of years ago. I was walking along a street, it was heavy rain, and a motorcyclist slipped and fell. And to avoid his motorcycle hitting me, I stepped to the side, and then I slipped, and then I fell. Hit my head against the ground. Had to call my wife to take me to a nearby hospital. And I was out in 2 hours. I had seen a doctor, had the CT scan, got the results. Thankfully, nothing was wrong. And then I left.
Did you go to the ATM? I call it the CT scan ATM machine. Did you have one of those? So I had a CT scan, I guess that's what they call it, of my lungs when I had the pneumonia.
Oh, that's an X-ray, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
did you do a CT? Oh, you could have done a CT.
Where they actually blew some gas into my system.
Oh, yeah.
So we did that, and it was actually on a Philips machine from the U.S., probably made in China. And they gave us a ticket. We went to what I called an ATM CT scan machine, scanned the little receipt, and my CT scan spit out of this giant machine outside.
Oh, yeah. Most of the hospitals have those.
They don't. I've never seen that. In the United States, it's like it goes from the CT scan office to the actual doctor's office so they can review it.
Yeah.
You take that CT scan and you actually go to the doctor and give it to them. Where it's, to me, that makes it more efficient.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas in the United States, it's just got to go. You may have to wait.
You have a technician operating the machine. They will print out the scan results, and then they will send it to the radiologist who actually looks at it, and they will then send it back to your doctor. Here, you just go in, and all the hospitals have it. Like, you always go to a machine and enter in your patient number, and the machine spits out whatever test results you had, and you take that back to the doctor, and the doctor says, this is what's wrong with you. Usually, though, what has happened is, even though you're taking the results back, they have actually been to a radiologist. They enter the information into the system, so when you get it, you're just taking it back to the doctor, who will read what the radiologist told him on the file, and then advise you accordingly. So the radiologist is just going to say, I've seen this on the scan, this is what is wrong. This is the medicine that I suggest would fix it. And then you will take that note back to the doctor, and the doctor will then prescribe the medicine for you. So it does go through the whole process. You just don't have to take it to all the stops.
A lot more efficient. So
it is very efficient.
Despite the lack of privacy, it is really efficient, guys. So if you ever visit here, you just be aware. It's okay to tell your physician, your doctor, please respect my privacy. Please don't let people walk into the room. Please lock the door.
Not with my
Or please cover my ass when I'm getting a colonoscopy and make sure that people don't see it.
There is also one important thing to note, though. There are some hospitals that are more experienced dealing with foreigners than others. So there are a lot of local hospitals that are catering almost exclusively to Chinese people. There are some hospitals that are more geared towards internationals, because Chongqing is a city that has a fair amount of foreigners, Ford factories and all that stuff. So just like you have international schools, you do have hospitals that cater more to an international clientele. They're still local, and
But they even call them international
they're
hospitals.
international hospitals, yeah, and they're still government run and government owned, but they just have a little bit more of that Western methodology.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of Western doctors even, they will speak English a little bit more, so it'll just be all around easier to go to those.
Well, it's human nature that we, if we regardless of where we grow up, we go somewhere different.
Yeah.
We go to a different culture, different country, that we just automatically do those comparisons of, well, they don't do it like America does. They don't do it like Denmark does. And those instances or moments can be moments of irritation.
Yes, absolutely.
But you still have to say, I'm constantly having to check my thinking.
Yes.
Where I'll get irritated with somebody that,
that is doing something different from how you would have done.
Like staring at me.
Yeah.
That's just rude to stare at people in the United States, whereas here they don't see foreigners often.
Yeah, it's socially acceptable to look at something.
So, but I find, so that I don't get like some foreigners here who get very irritated with the culture and get kind of bitter towards it, I have to check myself and say, okay, I'm part of the problem, instead of realizing that this culture has been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, because you are one person who come here with your sets and your mindset and your
imposing
opinions,
it on them,
imposing it on a billion other people who have been doing it this way for longer than you've been born. So I think, like, we've seen many people, also other YouTubers, I think in other videos, have said we have no right to tell these people how to do anything. But we can look at it and contrast it to how we do it in our respective countries, and maybe what we don't like about a certain thing. It doesn't mean it's bad or worse. It's just different. And sure, when Chinese people travel overseas, they must look at us all the time and be like, why are you doing it this way? Yeah. Like, we would get through this in like half the time you guys spend doing it, because you guys are also bogged up with bureaucracy and guidelines and rules and stuff. Like, why don't you just get to it?
Yep.
Like, why does it have to take so long? And like, even in the West, we're like, why does it take so long to do this?
Yeah.
Just like we talked about earlier, you needing to go see a specialist first. You have to go see your family doctor. They have to write a reference. Then you have to set a new time. It takes weeks. In China, you just go to the hospital. By the end of the day, you're done.
And you're done.
And you know exactly what's wrong. You have your medicine in hand. You can start your treatment right away.
I guess let's wrap it up with this. I wanted to show you where we're at. We're at the Liberation Monument.
Let me go on the right side of you.
All right.
Where the microphone is.
So if you can see right behind us, you got the Liberation Monument.
This is like prime tourist destination in Chongqing.
It is. You have to visit it.
Have to visit.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, I think it's about 27 meters tall, 90 feet tall.
Yeah.
You got to check it out. It's a great photo op. What's really fun about being down here is the number of people at night.
Oh, yeah.
And the dancing and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool. I actually did some research. Inside of this memorial here is a letter from Franklin D. Roosevelt from World War II.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, there's a, what do they call it, time capsule? They got the letter. They've got newspaper from them.
I've lived here for like twice as long as he has. I work for a company that does tourism stuff. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's what the article said. I'll send it to you.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, give us the thumbs up, and your donations to my PayPal link below in the description section will be greatly appreciated. Helps reduce the cost of our filming efforts here.
Yep.
I think we spent at least $1 million kwai out here today.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, at least $1 million kwai. So
it's, just like every step is $1,000.
We've got a huge camera crew.
Yeah.
There's probably like 100 people.
You never see them. It doesn't matter how fast you move the camera. The crew's always just out of frame.
Yeah, right there.
It's right there.
All right, guys. See you later.
Take care.
Man. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Cool.